Now, I don't know how many weddings that you guys have been to, but this was two of the most depressing weddings I have ever witnessed. Hey everyone, it's Shauna from Pay or Wait, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Handmaid's Tale Season 2, Episode 5, Seeds. And so, first, I have to apologize to you guys. So, I've been missing in action. I watched the episode, but somehow in between me watching the episode and then recording the episode, I managed to bruise my tailbone, and it was highly painful. Too painful to drive, too painful to sit down, to use the bathroom, to just do anything that required me to sit on my bum. It hurt, guys. So I'm feeling a little bit better. It still hurts to sit down, still hurts to drive a little bit, but it's not nearly as unbearable as it was last week. So I'm feeling at a 75%, not at 100%, but I'm at a 75 because the pain is tolerable now to move around and to sit in my little chair that I sit in to do my reviews. So I apologize to you guys. But let's get into this episode. So we saw the previous episode before this. June basically was fully broken down, and so we see that she is basically a zombie for the majority of the episode until basically the last minute or two of this episode. And so basically everything's been kind of just this weird presence within the Waterford household. And so we see that Miss Lydia has still been doing her check-ins. She is committed to making sure that Offred makes it to the end of her pregnancy, to make sure that everyone keeps the peace within the house. And this is annoying the hell out of Serena, okay? This is annoying Mrs. Waterford. I don't know if they had Miss Lydia come in or if it was Miss Lydia who just injected herself into their household. At first I thought Serena did it to annoy the hell out of June, but now Lydia getting on Serena's nerves. And so, we see that she's tracking the baby's measurements, seeing how much she weighs. She tells Offred hey, you're a little musty, you need to go take another shower. Asking her, when did you have your last bowel movement? And she cutting Serena off because Serena's I can tell you all this information. And she just let her tell me. And so you see that when they're having tea, that she makes the comment that hey, I'm here to make sure that the mood surrounding this baby is okay, kind of letting Serena know you need to get your act together and just woman up and just make it through this experience, okay? I know it's already hard for you because you're watching another woman carry your child that you can't bear yourself, so just get through it, girl. Just get through it. So everyone looking at it Offred she's crazy. She's yes, Mrs. Waterford. No, Mrs. Waterford. She's not being defiant to her. She's basically doing everything that she asked her to do, drinking that nasty drink, going on walks with her, even when Serena tries to gossip or do something to bring her out of the zombie-like state. It just doesn't work, and she just yes or no, Mrs. Waterford. And even she tells her if you're not enjoying this, let me know. But the whole point of us taking these walks is so we can both converse with one another, so the baby can hear my voice, and then it doesn't do anything to fix her. And so it's so bad that even Nick does something out of character and goes to Mrs. Waterford and says, hey, is the handmaid okay? She seems a little off. I just want to make sure that somebody's looking out for her. And then she's well, obviously somebody looking out for her. You sitting up here asking me. And so being the petty woman that Mrs. Waterford is, she goes to her husband. He ignored her like he normally does. And basically she makes a comment about how Nick was checking in on Offred, and clearly this does something to Mr. Waterford, but he doesn't really make any facial expressions, but you can tell that in his mind he I gotta get rid of this boy. And so we see that Mr. Waterford is working on this big project, a new center for the handmaids to go through all of their training, and they're inviting some of the other commanders from other surrounding neighborhoods to come and see this new center. And so while he's doing this, he basically asks for Nick to be reassigned, okay? And so all of a sudden, everything is fine and dandy until they go to this pray. I think it's a prayer against some prayer ceremony. Okay, so they go to a prayer ceremony, and then they see Nick and all these other drivers basically line up, and you see the wives and the handmaids. They're sitting in the audience, and so you try to figure out what's going on. And then all these women come out in these white robes, and I was Lord, you finna marry this boy off? That's how petty you are? But not only are they marrying him and other men off, they're marrying them to basically children. Okay, they're children. These people can't be like over like 14, 15. I'm gonna say 14, 15 because I'm sure all of them had to have had their periods before they would qualify to become a wife. But this is basically like, it's just like, I just don't understand why y'all think this is okay, and what woman would come up with this and think that this mess is good. And Serena, she's sitting up there in the audience just clapping like, I am so happy. I was like, you guys are like raping young children, young women, okay? Because we know the whole purpose of them to get married, to consummate the marriage, to try to birth other children. I'm just like, this is just appalling. It's sickening. But you have to watch, Offred has to watch Nick marry someone else while she's pregnant with a child. They're in love together. She's still trying to figure out like how to function. Meanwhile, she's basically going through what we think is a miscarriage the entire episode. She's bleeding every time she uses the bathroom. She sees blood. Then you cut to her taking a bath, and the entire bath water is filled with blood. And I'm just like, oh Lord, she's just gonna really let this like baby die. And I mean, as much as you want to be like, no, don't do that, do you really want your child to be born into this type of lifestyle? And so, basically, he ends up marrying this girl. He looks freaked out. The girls look freaked out. And, you know, they basically, Serena talks to the girl, and the commander, Mr. Waterford, talks to Nick, and basically telling them about how happy marriage is and making sure that you do what you're supposed to do. And it's just totally awkward. I feel bad for Offred because she's watching all of this happen. She's already going through what she thinks is a miscarriage. She's already traumatized by them breaking her in the previous episode. And then she has to watch the last person who basically like held on to who she was as June be married off to someone else. And then in the meantime, we go and we see Emily and we see Janine in the colonies. And so basically Emily's trying to get Janine used to what life is in the colonies. And Janine's kind of getting on Emily's nerves because, you know, Janine, she's real positive. She's into the Lord, about how the Lord gonna bless them and everything is gonna work out. And Emily is just like, girl, why don't you get it yet? Like, what else do you gotta go through for you to realize that this not the Lord, yo. It's not the Lord, okay? And so this brings us to our second wedding, which is of one of the young ladies who is basically has been perishing before our eyes when we first saw Emily in the colonies, and she is in love with another woman. Janine comes up with this idea for them to become married, even though if someone were to find out that they could be killed, there would be consequences. And so this gets Emily and Janine into an argument because she's just like, why don't you understand this? Like, why are you doing all of this? And basically, it's like a bittersweet moment because they're getting married, but then she's like dying at the same time. And then we see that by the next morning after they are married, in their own little ceremony that the women created, she basically passes away. And so it's pretty depressing, but you see that Emily decides to let Janine have her kind of fairy tale in her head because that's kind of Janine's way to basically survive. That's how she's been surviving all of these traumatic experiences that have been happening to her. And so it's interesting to see like how life in the colonies, how the women stick together, and in Gilead, how the wives kind of tear the handmaids down. You know, it's like this hierarchy that they're better than them. And so overall, episode depressing as it normally is. We see that the episode ends June when Nick is going to smoke a cigarette outside and go to his wife to what we assume is consummated marriage. We see that June is laying in the rain outside in her undergarments, basically with blood, and we see her wake up. And we find out that not only has she survived, she sees Mrs. Waterford sitting beside her bed, but she sees that the baby has survived as well. And that's when we kind of see Offred snap back into June and find herself again when she tells her baby, like, you're a tough one. I promise I will not let you be born into this. And so June is back. The episode goes off. And yeah, I was depressed. Everybody else was depressed. We had weddings and I was still depressed because the weddings were pretty creepy, pretty depressing. And yes, I'm just interested to see what happens with the next episode. But those are my thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale Season 2, Episode 5, Seeds. As always, my name is Sharonda from Pay Your Weight. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and I will see you soon.